President-elect Donald Trump is heading back to the White House. Many are now asking, because of that, what does it mean for women's rights, specifically how reproductive rights could be affected by the next administration? Let's bring in politics and policy columnist for Bloomberg Opinion, Ellen Klas. Ellen, thanks for taking the time to join us. President-elect Trump has said that he will not sign a federal abortion ban and that states should decide their own policies on this subject specifically. What would a Republican-led House and Senate pass? Would they pass a ban that Trump would actually veto it, do you think?
You know, Phil, that is a really good question because Trump has been all over the board with this. On one hand, he said he was proud to be the person that enabled the fall of Roe v. Wade. On the other hand, he has indicated that he would not support and potentially would veto a nationwide ban on abortion. Meanwhile, Trump is under pressure, I think, from both sides. On one hand are the religious right and Christian nationalists who really do believe that his election is kind of a mandate for them to move ahead forward with more abortion restrictions. On the other hand, a lot of Trump supporters, it's very clear according to the data we've analyzed, 1 out of 7 Trump supporters voted in favor of amendments in states that would have enshrined abortion rights into their state constitutions.
Yeah, so let's dive into that a little bit more. Can you explain the division across several states passing measures protecting, expanding, even abortion access, but then Trump still taking many of those states?
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, we watched in the midterm elections as there were abortion amendments in states, including red states, that succeeded. And this year there were 10 states that had efforts relating to abortion issues on the ballot. 7 of them passed expanding abortion rights, including in states that had previously put more restrictive abortion measures into law. Now, one of those states is Florida, and Florida had a 57% of all voters supporting an amendment to enshrine abortion rights up to viability. But because there was a 60% threshold, that didn't make it, and so that failed. But we saw in many of these places that while these legislatures had moved too far to the right, voters kind of yanked them back into the middle.
I'm curious what you think about IVF moving forward. This past June, we saw Senate Republicans block a bill that would guarantee access to in vitro fertilization. And when the Trump campaign saw which way voters were leaning, I think Trump even called himself at one point the godfather of IVF. So he seems to favor it now. What do you think happens moving forward?
I think this is one area to really watch because I think, for the most part, I think most Republicans that support IVF believe Donald Trump, that he's not going to interfere with that. On the other hand, Project 2025, which, the Trump campaign has attempted to distance himself from, does not believe that that is a healthcare and that has anything to do with healthcare, and it should be banned. And so where is he going to land? And I think that we will learn more as time goes on and who he surrounds himself. I think it'll also be interesting to see who he picks as head of the Health and Human Services agencies, as well as his Surgeon General.
Yeah, all of these picks will tell us where we're headed in certain directions. Lastly, Ellen, I just want to ask you about this. There was a quote from a Trump speech talking about protecting women. Let's take a listen to it.
I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
All right, just quickly before we go, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it kind of underscores the hypocrisy of everything that we've watched with this Trump administration. He not only hasn't protected women, but he has enabled laws all across the country that have actually undermined women's safety and health. And I think that for the most part, I think many people just don't believe him when he says things. I think that's a big mistake.
All right, Mary Ellen Klas, thanks so much for joining us today. Do appreciate it.
Good to be here.